So I want to do this video on something that I feel can keep many of us stuck in the dark night of the soul for a hell of a lot longer than we actually need to. And this is something that goes on inside of us that we are all familiar with, this badge of honor that we seem to wear, that to endure things in life is actually something that's to be proud of, and something that we do walk around and wear it as a badge of honor, as in, let's, stiff up a lip, let's push through this, let's just get on with it. The trouble is, that's been bred into us for hundreds of years, to just do that. But once you start to wake up, if you like, in the dark night of the soul, and you see the realities of the existence of how ridiculous things are that have actually been placed in us, the traditional beliefs and generational beliefs, etc., you can really start to see where this belief in enduring things is keeping us stuck in the dark night of the soul, because we're enduring the dark night of the soul, but we are just enduring it because we don't know of any other way of how to actually deal with something. And what I'm trying to say there is, it's so unconscious in us to endure something that we can become almost addicted to enduring something. And really, enduring is just coming from a place of fear. And that place of fear can look like we've got a job, or we're in a relationship, and there's going to be some hard truths in this video, and I guess it might upset some of you, but then you might not be ready to hear these type of messages. But those of you that are, it might make a lot of sense to you, even though you may not like it. Some of you obviously will like it as well. But we have been taught to endure things, and that enduring of things, say like a bad job, bad relationship, etc., we're only enduring that through fear. And the fear, what that might look like is, so we're in a job that we don't actually want to be in, but we've been told that it's a decent enough job, it pays the bills, it keeps the kids fed, it gives us the holiday each year, it buys us this, it keeps me out of trouble, is another great one that we kind of love to say as humans. But that is the mind-made fear kicking in, telling you all those things, making it justifiable as to why you stay in an existence or in a job that you actually don't like. You have a fear of leaving that job, because should you leave that job and try and get a different type of job, or try and venture down a new career path, you of course run the risk of failure. And you also run the risk of maybe it all goes wrong and you don't end up having enough money to feed your kids and pay for your house, etc. Again, that is all rational fear. However, it's irrational to live a life that is truly governed by our belief that we need to endure things. And it's through that belief that keeps us so stuck in situations for decade after decade. When we actually want to get out of it, we can't get out of it because of the underlying fear. We might not associate this as fear. We might associate it, like I said before, as that thing of, well, it keeps me out of trouble, it pays the bills and it keeps the kids fed. No, that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out for actually facing up in life to the things that facing up to your true self, to your true essence, and understanding that you do have choices in this stuff. Now, I'm not trying to say by any stretch of the imagination that anyone who doesn't like their job should just jack it in and sit at home and do nothing and wonder, hope that the dark night of the soul reveals something. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think it's so important that people, if they could see that side, which if you're in the dark night of the soul, eventually you'll go right through and you'll look back, and a lot of this stuff will make a hell of a lot of sense. Then you will then start seeing it. But so I'm not saying just jack in your job and leave. These videos are never about that, but they will point out the truths as to what keeps us stuck. But perhaps that way of thinking of, i.e., it pays the bills, it keeps me out of trouble, etc. That way of thinking is actually what is preventing us from moving away, because it's a continual bombardment from the mind that says, well, what else can you do? There is nothing else you can do, so you've just got to put up with this. So again, that's where the enduring of it comes in. But the more and more and more we endure it, the more and more and more we crush our true self, because our true self doesn't want to be doing that thing. But that thing that we're doing is only being done because we're fearful of leaving it and venturing out into the new world. So the only way, now, to a lot of people who have not entered the dark night of the soul or had a spiritual awakening, they would have gone a long time ago. They wouldn't be this far into the film. If you're this far into the video, something is resonating. And something is resonating because you can see the existence. You can see your prior existence for all that it was. Now we need to just find and figure out a way of how we can slowly get you away from that one and get you into a new field that would be more suitable for yourself. And we can swap the finances over. Now, I can't, obviously, this side of the video tell you how to do that in your circumstance or what to do, but I can try and offer some little pointers that might get you thinking along the lines of that might be able to help you and help you move forward. And the first one, and I think the most important one, is to actually, if you get some time alone and start noticing your thought patterns, how they were in the Matrix and how they are now. Someone's just hit my van. Hang on a second. No, we're safe. It was someone closing a door behind, but they must have really slammed it. I actually thought they'd gone into the back of my van. But by identifying our thought patterns, and this is so important, guys, but we won't identify these thought patterns whilst we're doing the same ritual every single day. This is why getting the time alone, creating space and time to spend on your own, is so vital, because these things start to come up. The silence that you hear, both physically and in here, give you that capacity to notice and to really dive deep into yourself and to see what your patterns are and what your patterns were. I think you can tell in this video I'm passionate about this one. I'm passionate about all my videos, but some of them they are so important, but they are so overlooked by everybody, because the mind will kick in at all times watching this saying, but I can't do anything. I need the money to do this. That's exactly the problem right there. If we can hear the mind doing that, if we can become aware of the mind doing that, that's the first step along the process of rectifying that. Is if we become aware that that is how our thoughts go. That every time something comes into our head like that, that is the ego justifying your unhappiness in the job or relationship or whatever situation you're in that is ultimately causing you uncomfort. And I lost my chain of thought there a bit, sorry guys. But the other thing that we can actually do in that situation is, if we can start to understand that how the conditioning has been bred into us to make us accept and endure things, to put the stiff upper lip on and go through life accepting things. If we can identify the habits that run through society that tell us that enduring stuff is a good thing, enduring an unhappy relationship for 50 years is what we should do, enduring jobs that we don't ultimately like is what we should do. No. Enduring stuff that makes us unhappy is bloody abnormal. We're the only species on Earth that are so super intelligent that we actually cause ourselves suffering. It's ridiculous. Now, let me just be clear about this one. Enduring some things is obviously needed. So if you want to run a personal best on a marathon and it starts to get painful, yep, you're going to have to endure a little bit there. Or maybe, how about this is a bit more extreme? If you've got a sick child and you've got to, and you've got to go to the hospital every single day and you've got to go through that to be with them and whatever else, hopefully none of you guys are in that situation. But if you are in that situation, then they're the type of things that obviously we need to endure, because we need to be there for our kids or our partner, or, you know the situation I'm trying to say there, guys. But even there, I would still suggest that we try as best as we can to get some time alone so that we can reflect on our thoughts. Because what I mean by reflect on the thoughts is the thoughts will just come up. It's not that you're engineering them, but the thoughts will just come up. And so then we can process the feelings and the emotions that they're creating with us. And why it might still be wise to do that is because then if you're rectified in yourself, if you are in a situation like that where you've got a sick family member or a sick child, etc., then you need to be the best version of yourself to show up for them. So your health has to take priority, because then you can give the best of you back to them and helping them get better and look after themselves. I think I've explained that well enough. But there's another thing we can do as well, and I've mentioned this in a lot of my videos, and that is we have to work on our self-belief. Our self-belief will only come up when we venture into the areas that we don't want to go to. So what I mean by that is, when the thoughts and the feelings come up, which are not the good ones, which are the ones that kind of frighten us, the ones that we distract from, the ones that create that enduring or fear in us, the ones that create that, that's why it's important to be alone and allow them to come up. Because when those thoughts or those feelings come up and we can kind of identify, and this takes a while to kind of grasp, when the egoic mind is still at work, is still playing havoc with you, if you like. We don't actually think it is, because sometimes in the dark night of the soul, we can think that we're so awakened that anything we're thinking comes from our awakened self. No, we never actually, I don't think anyone actually ever truly awakens 100%. It's a never-ending process of the elimination of our old egoic self to reveal us, and we reveal our true selves as life goes on. But I certainly think that each little step forward is a wonderful mind, is a wonderful eye opener. And it really helps us move forward in life and aid us as we go along. But when we venture into those areas, it gives us the belief that we've never had before, because we've never been allowed to have it. But we can actually learn that we can process and deal with these thoughts and feelings ourselves. So when that starts to happen in us, these are small little increments that happen. We start to think, maybe not at the time, guys, when you're in there, but as you kind of process it and you come out through that, you start developing this kind of inner power, this inner feeling of belief in yourself that you're okay because you've got you. You don't need anyone else to have you. And I can't help saying this bit, but when you've got you, you then become fearless. I've said this before. When you become fearless, you venture into those places more. When you venture into those places more, you untap more of your real self starts to come out. The more of your real self that starts to come out, the more you start seeing your inner beauty. The more you start seeing your inner beauty, the more confident you get. It's just this wonderful loop, if we allow it, that keeps going. But what we can't do is fall into the trap that we think that the path to getting out of the spiritual awakening or the dark night of the soul process of coming out of the dark night of the soul is never easy. It's a gradual rise, but it will do this. So we will go up and down, up and down, up and down, all the way along. But if we can, getting back to the video point, if we can understand that in the endurance, the enduring is actually a fear base. It's coming from a place of fear. When you identify that, is when you will then start thinking outside of the proverbial box. You will start thinking outside of the box, and things will become clearer. And they become clearer because you don't have this fear of leaving that job. You don't have a fear of applying for something totally different that might be a lot less money. You don't have a fear of, if you're in a lot of financial situation or your monthly budget is a real strain on you, you would have no fear of perhaps selling your house and downgrading, despite what your family might think of it, despite what your parents might say, despite what other people might say. You will start doing what is best for you and your true self and your essence. And that's the beauty, that when we get in touch with our true self and the egoic starts going away, the egoic mind starts falling away, and the ego starts to leave us a little bit. Never goes, but it's in the background. Once it goes back there, that's when it's beautiful, because then we start realizing we don't need all the big contraptions to impress other people. What is actually I mean, we don't need to impress other people, full stop. But what generally will impress people anyway is you just being you. And whatever shape, size, colour, package that you come in is perfect. It's how it should be. Anyway, I hope that made a little bit of sense to some of you. I hope that was interesting. That is a passionate one of mine. I see so many people walking around suppressing their anger towards the world. They think that the world is doing something to them. You know, I often hear people saying, "Oh, my life." You know, yeah, your life. You can choose what you do with it. You have that ability to choose. We are in the dark night of the soul because we're seeing the system for what it was and what it's done. And these beliefs have gone in us, guys. We have to remember this. For thousands of years, they've just rolled down and down and down. At one point, the mind in our evolution was essential for us to survive, to escape the lions and tigers, etc., that might be killing us, the climate and all that kind of stuff. At one point, that was needed so desperately, and it was our ability to come together as a species that ultimately led to our survival, because we could outwit all the other animals on the planet. That got obsessive in us, and roll forward now thousands of years, here we are, and we live via the mind. The mind is made up from all stuff that we've been told. Anyone who's learnt something has then put that onto you, but someone had put it onto them. And this chain just goes on and on and on and on and on. Other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, what we might have read in headlines of newspapers. You think of the millions and billions of things that we've done. But I hope, like I said quite a while ago, I hope that made sense to some of you. I hope you found that a bit interesting. I'm aware I'm not always the best at explaining things, guys, and you're always so patient with me. I do forget what I have said, and I also am aware sometimes that I miss things out that I wanted to say. And occasionally when I watch these videos back, I'm like, oh, I didn't say that. However, I'm sure you can join the dots if you like. You know, you can join the dots up with what's going on, and I hope it's helping some of you. 700 of you now here. That's incredible. Thank you so much, guys. That's awesome. Yeah, I've still not got any better equipment. My new phone seems to be a little bit better. I'm currently in Folkestone, beautiful Folkestone, but the weather is absolutely blowing a gale. So yet again, I've had to do another video from the flash, which I didn't want to, but I can't help it. I can't get out the wind anywhere. Anyway, guys, I hope you found that a bit interesting, and I look forward to doing another one during the week. Okay, love every single one of you. Thank you so much, guys. Peace.